Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Navs Podcast. I'm your host, Navi Ganglani. I'm super excited for this episode. We have two key members of the DLSU Green Archers championship team from season 86. You might not have seen them playing on the screen, but behind the scenes, they were largely responsible for setting up this championship run of LaSalle. We'll speak to them soon, but first, a quick word from our sponsor, Get Blue. Attention, all Ateneo supporters and fashion enthusiasts. Get ready to elevate your game day style with Get Blue's latest masterpiece, the all-new hoodies. These aren't just any ordinary hoodies. They're the best Get Blue has ever come out with. Crafted with precision and passion, each hoodie is a testament to their commitment to quality and style. And guess what? They come in three stunning colors: cream, royal blue, and navy blue. But wait, there's more. The new hoodie features textured and embroidered patches on premium peak fabric, ensuring a luxurious and comfortable feel like no other. It's the perfect blend of style and comfort, making it an absolute must-have for the remainder of UAAP Season 86. But here's the best part. You can own this game day essential for only 2,500 pesos each. That's right, premium quality at a great price. But remember, true fans always buy original. Avoid imitations and support the Ateneo varsity teams in style by purchasing from Get Blue's official stores. With Get Blue, you're not just buying a hoodie, you're investing in the pride and tradition of the blue and white. Don't miss out on the opportunity to stand out in the crowd and show your unwavering support for the Ateneo varsity teams. Get your hands on the new hoodies today and let your Blue Eagle pride soar to new heights. Visit Get Blue's official stores to secure your hoodies now. Hurry! Quantities are limited. Okay, we're back and we are joined by Gelo Vito and Migs Aytona, the two key members of the DLSU Green Archers strength and conditioning team from season 86 under the tutelage of Coach Topex Robinson. Coach Migs, of course, a long-time trusted trainer by many of the top Philippine sports athletes in the country, also working with the Phoenix Fuel Masters in the PBA, while Gelo Vito, of course, some of you might remember him for his career with the UP Fighting Maroons in the UAAP Seniors Division. He now also is a part of the strength and conditioning team of Converge in the PBA. I'd like to say it's been a good week for these two guys, but both of them are coming off losses for their respective PBA teams. So, how does it feel, guys, going from all that winning in the UAP, that winning streak, the championship, and then suddenly, damn, life is a little different in the PBA, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Paano pa
And
kaya
the
ako? Paano pa kaya ako? I only
we're
had one win.
Yeah. But that's the reality. We're both independent teams, but we're gonna fight. You know, it's a
Absolutely.
long season naman.
Yeah, gotta keep fighting the good fight. And Phoenix
Yeah.
did have a notable run last conference, Mix,
Yep.
around the same time that you guys were, not around the same time, a little bit after you guys were winning with De La Salle. Jello, I'm sure Converge will turn your fortunes around maybe after the next PBA draft. What do you think?
I've always said that our team is very young. Isipin mo, the oldest player that we have there is Kevin Racal, who's 32 years old. So we're relatively, like, really young. And if I'm not mistaken, apat ata doon were in the same draft class as mine, 2018,
Wow.
I think. So it's relatively young. Like, bata pa talaga. Siguro, dalawa lang doon, or probably three or two players ang hindi ko nakalaban sa college stint ko. So, relatively young team.
I'm still waiting for Shawnee to really explode and have his like PBA arrival. I don't know. Let's see. Maybe.
Well, actually, our last game against Blackwater, he really had a day. I think he scored 24 points.
Right.
And
Yeah.
talagang he really did well during that game. So
Yeah, and a lot of
syempre,
times for PBA younglings, it takes up to the second or the third season to really, it's a different game, right? College and the pros. I'm sure
yeah,
you
that's
guys
true.
would understand. But I want to focus a little bit about De La Salle University because you guys were key members behind the scenes in helping cultivate this La Salle team into the championship level, championship caliber, physically imposing squad that they ended up being. Now, what really stuck out to me at the end of game 3 of the finals against UP. By the way, Jello, that must have been some interior conflict inside of you. But end of game 3, I don't know this for a fact. Maybe you guys can confirm or deny. But it just felt like there was a little more left in the gas tank of the Green Archers compared to the Fighting Maroons, in my opinion, particularly on the defensive side of the basketball, because like
Yeah.
on the offensive side, I think there were like a few minutes where neither team was scoring down the stretch of the fourth quarter, and it became a defensive slugfest. Who can get the stops? KQ
Yeah.
blocking Jerry. Joshua David also had the big play, and it just felt like the Sal had more energy, had more oomph left, and I felt like that really was one of the chief reasons why
Yeah.
they won the championship. So with that said, was that one of the goals that you guys tried to establish early on as you were building the strength and conditioning program for the Green Archers when you guys came along with Coach Topex? Let's start with you, Jello.
Well, you can say that that is probably our goal, like, because the system of Coach Topex kasi is more of pressing, run and gun, fast paced. So we really needed the boys to be placed in a situation where they can last long in games and have that same quality of work and same quality of performance every time they're on the floor. So you really can't pull them back within terms of how they're playing and performing. Kasi again, the system of Coach Topex is really up tempo. So if you can't keep up with it, wala, may iwan ka talaga.
Migs, when the season starts, is there like a general program that you try to establish for the whole team? Or do you really dig into the details of each player? Like, this is this player's body composition, this is this
Mm.
player's body type, this is how fast they can lose weight. Do you really study the details of each player? Or do you start things off with a more general approach?
Well, I'll get to that. But first, when you were talking about like when you saw na parang we were still fresh in the championship towards the end of game three. Luis, I'm gonna say this anyway. I don't know if Luis will allow me, but Luis Pablo, di ba, kakalipad lang sa amin.
Yes, sir.
And he was saying, so he's worked out with me for a couple of weeks now, and he said that nung game three, sabi niya, grabe coach, never ko nakita si Kuya Harold mapagod sa game. And first time ko siya makita mapagod ng game three, so that's when I really knew na ubos na kami. And you
Wow.
guys were still. So yeah, but no, that's, you can give us credit, but the credit is really to the coaching staff, especially Coach Topex, because to me naman, aside from the program, the strength and conditioning workouts that we give to the players, I think the most valuable thing that we had served the team is the way we dictate practice intensity and duration. And Coach Topex, even Phoenix pa, he was giving me that freedom already to dictate practice intensity and duration. And that power given to us, it helps us manage trainings to peak for certain games and certain times of the season. So yun, that was really like, they're always praising us. Pero si Coach Topex talaga, like without him giving us that power, we lahat naman ng program namin hindi naman ma-align with what we're doing if
Mm-mm.
Coach Topex doesn't give us that power.
So then when you are implementing the program for the team, do you really go one by one in that regard? Or I know obviously practice will have to end the same time for everyone, start the same
Mm-hmm.
time for everyone. That's just how it is for basketball teams. But I'm sure when it comes to the weightlifting sessions, the extra work, what drills these players are doing, are you very meticulous about what each player should do? Or is it a, per batch kind of thing?
Definitely. We try our best. Obviously, like we're only two pairs of eyes and the players of 20 at the start as a pool. So it's hard to really individualize, but eventually we would have to individualize, especially with their special cases and injuries, different injury histories for some players. So that's when we do individualize in the accessory work or like the set of exercises towards the end of the workout. That's when we individualize a little bit. But when we came in, almost everyone had the same program. Us seeing them every day, that would be considered the assessment already. Just seeing how they move, seeing how they would compensate towards certain exercises. I would say nung sa beginning, yung mga ini-individualize lang namin is yung mga injured. Kasi when we came in, there were like 9 knee injuries, 4 foot and ankle injuries. So we had to manage those things first before we really focus on the performance side of things. We had to really focus on the health first.
When you say compensate, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you mean in that regard is, let's say a certain player has a certain injury and another body part is compensating for the lack of strength because of that injury. Am I right in that regard? And how dangerous can that compensation be?
That could be a good example, but more so, let's say specifically, let's say Josh David came from a bad ACL tear, and he was scared of bending his knee. Like that's what we call knee flexion. You're scared of doing that under heavy loads, right? So hindi niya tinutupi. And in a real game, tinutupi mo yung tuhod mo when you decelerate. So if you're trying
Mm-mm.
to avoid that in the gym, then most likely in the game and that happens, then you probably get hurt again because you're avoiding that in the gym. So when those compensations happen in the gym, like also we try to correct them or give them supplementary exercises that will help that knee bend more.
Right.
So yun.
Jello, when you guys started the training sessions, how many times did players puke?
Wala naman.
Oh, hindi kami
We,
ganun.
Hindi
Hindi
naman kami
ganon.
ganun.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
that type na yung stereotypical na when you hear about strength and conditioning coaches na kami yung mga bad cops ng team.
Mm,
Kami yung mga
Yeah, yeah.
bad boys ng team. Hindi kami ganun. We're more of checking more of the welfare of the players,
right.
kung ano yung needs nila and where they're at right now. Kumbaga, we're not gonna force you into something that we know that you can't do.
Mhm.
So we will try to regress some exercises, some conditioning drills, just for them to properly build up. Because we can't be when we started, everyone was so scared or parang so worried, lalo na yung mga injured players na when we tell them na oh sit out ka muna ng practice kasi
Right.
we have to do recovery, we have to, and they were so adamant to it na parang they were skeptical at first. Na parang bakit mo ako pupulat sa practice? Eh yun yung nakasanayan nila before. They were so used to that na they were so used to playing hurt that they don't even remember how it feels like to play healthy. Probably one of our struggle to for them to buy into what we do. And slowly but surely nung nakakita na sila ng resulta, lalo na in terms of their health, yun. And then that's slowly build their trust sa amin. And then eventually, yun na, unti-unti na implement na namin yung mga kailangan namin and kailangan namin for the team and for the general team.
Having been in Philippine basketball for a while as a player and now as a coach, do you feel that's one of the areas of improvement that is required when it comes to Philippine basketball? Better managing recovery, better
Yes.
managing long-term health.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Yes.
want you
Bro,
both. Let's
that's what
start. Yeah, go for it. Thanks.
this is a podcast, so people are listening, might as well say something that will educate the people who are listening.
Yeah.
True.
First and foremost, let's go back to what you just said for that question. Trainers aren't supposed to be making guys puke. Because if you're not leaving anything left in the tank, then how are you going to perform your sport the next day for practice, diba? Your sessions, whether it's the practice on court or the SNC session, there should always be something left in the tank. Because you're practicing every day. So if you're always like leaving it your all, next day's practice is going to be trash for sure. And you always want to have quality practices. And that's the reason why it's so important yung what I said kanina na the most important thing that we served in the team is managing or planning training intensities and duration throughout the week, throughout the whole month, and then throughout the whole year.
Go for it.
Naveen, if the knowledge that I have right now is something that
You
I
had it
knew
before.
that I had before,
That we had before, bro.
that we had before. Kami ni Migs, kasi Migs and I, we kind of share something na kaya kami, we went into strength and conditioning coach. We became strength and conditioning coaches that yung purpose namin is to not experience what we experienced as athletes. Because we were, puro kami injuries growing up. High school pa lang, puro
Yeah,
injuries
bro.
na left and right. Ako, I suffered ACL injuries on both my knees. High school pa lang, wala pa ako sa college noon. So, kaya we really made it a point where yan yung purpose namin. So, again, if I had the same information back then and the knowledge that I have right now na na-apply ko before, probably basketball in the Philippines would have been better, would have been progressive. So, yun, actually that small detail lang, that part of just manipulating training intensities and training durations would have been big for everybody.
Do you think part of the problem lies in the fact that coaches most of them from an older generation, which to
Mm-hmm.
be fair might not all be their fault because they did come from a different generation where the
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
practices were different. Do you feel this notion that matapang ka if you're able to play while you're injured should just be erased
Yeah.
completely because it's just not good for long-term health?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
for me,
Definitely.
well, yeah.
Sige, ikaw muna.
Yeah, well, for me kasi, I mean, I've had my fair share. As an athlete, I've had my fair share na playing injured, playing hurt. When you're playing hurt kasi, yes, oh, titingnan na matapang ka, but at what cost in the long term? Yes, ilalaban mo yung isang araw, but in the long run, sisingilin ka. That's something that I personally experienced, 'di ba? So, right now, I think when in terms of sports coaches, I think it's more of just educating. Mostly kasi again,
Mm-hmm.
times are changing, knowledge is changing, studies are changing, the game is changing really fast. Kami nga, pinag-uusapan namin lagi ni Migs is mostly just educating the sport coaches more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi we've realized na hindi namin magagawa yung trabaho namin. Kahit gaano pa kami kagaling na SNC coaches, whether we've learned from great SNC coaches or we have so much experience. But if hindi kami makakapag-align with the sport
Mm-hmm.
coaches, it's gonna be a tough job for us, and not to a point where we won't be as effective.
Anyway, your question is very nice, Levine, in a sense na you're right. There are a lot of coaches like that who think na if you're able to play through the pain, you're grabe yung mental strength mo as an athlete. Kasi a lot of players na sa DLSU or even in the other teams that we have, we're trying to change that culture na parang ayaw nila mag-sit out pag hurt sila kasi feel nila the coach will think that they're very weak mentally and physically. Obviously, if you're hurt, there's something wrong with you. So sit out and get healthy before you come back. That's why I love Coach Topex as a coach because his mindset is if I play you when you're hurt, I'm just doing you a disservice because you're gonna get hurt more long term. And like you said, hopefully we change the sport coaches here in the Philippines slowly change that mindset. But at the same time, what if you get hurt in the championship, something really bad, like something that you couldn't have control, and you're able to play through that? That's also something to talk about, obviously. Pero like
Absolutely.
in practice, diba? Parang why are you forcing practice? It's just practice and it's the start of the season. Try to
Yeah.
get healthy first. There's like a longer fight towards the end, diba? There's like a bigger goal.
Absolutely. Is there a time where you, as strength and conditioning coaches, have to protect the players from themselves as well? Because sometimes, adrenaline can carry them. Sometimes it's that youthful exuberance that could make them feel like they're invincible and anything is possible. At what point do you, as SNC coaches, come in and you're like, listen, alam ko hindi kayo naniniwala sa amin na yun, but this is actually what's best for you long term?
For me, sometimes it's really hard to convince players. Ako personally, it's really hard for me to convince players because
You
syempre I'm at the
probably
point.
know as a player yourself
Yun na nga
before
eh.
also.
Yun na nga eh. So I really know yung feeling na nararamdaman nila na they just wanna push through it, they just wanna fight through it. But usually pag may mga ganyan, naiisip na, like a prime example is Josh David when we had this tournament in Zamboanga. Josh wasn't really used to, getting big minutes and playing consecutive games na with 20 plus minutes eh. And there was an instance where he was having really bad back spasms. And sinasabi niya sa akin na, hindi, coach, lalaban ko to. Ganun siya. But I was at a caution where, sige, ilaro mo. Sayang eh, nasa liga ka, ganyan. But suddenly, hindi na parang, wait, UAAP ang goal natin, hindi ito. This is nothing compared to UAAP. So, it kind of grounded me and reminded him na, Josh, mas importante UAAP kaysa dito. And then yun, and then eventually, he said na, bigla lang siyang nagising din na parang, oo nga, UAAP ang goal natin. So bakit ako makipagpatayan dito? 'Di ba? But eventually, he played really well. I mean, may mga ginawa kami, he played well and yun, nailaban niya. Siya na rin na mismo nagsabi na, don't worry, I'll be fine. Ayun, nung sinabi niya sa akin na okay ako, I'll be fine, I think mas naging kampante na ako sa kanya na, oh, you're gonna be fine. So, sige, laro ka.
And you guys won
Yeah,
the
you're right.
championship.
Yeah, we did. And you're right, Naveen, na it's so hard to convince some players, but that's the reason why I like working with college more than pro. It's because
So,
you have such a long preparation in the off season before the actual
mm,
UAAP. So you get to cultivate relationships. You get to spend some time together, be actual friends with the players. And sometimes within those conversations that I have with them, kahit kwentuhan lang, I try to sneak in something that will educate them. And then long term, I'm just planting my seeds of like trying to educate them na yun nga yung things that will help them realize na wag i-push through pag hindi naman kailangan,
Mm.
and the reason like pros and cons of why. So yun, eventually they learn so much just by like talking to me as friends and not as actual, coach and player.
Absolutely. More from Migs and Gelo after a quick word from our sponsor, Fitspire. Are you ready to transform your home into a premium fitness haven? Look no further than Fitspire, your go-to destination for top-notch home gym equipment designed to take your fitness to unprecedented heights. Immerse yourself in a world of possibilities with their versatile range of premium gear, including yoga equipment for serene workouts, adjustable dumbbells and kettlebells for customized strength training, roller wheels and push-up bars to sculpt those abs and arms, jump ropes, foam rollers, and stability balls for an all-rounded workout experience, stylish and efficient cooling towels to keep you refreshed, and sport water bottles for staying hydrated in style. Fitspire's equipment is not only durable but also space-saving, allowing you to create your dream workout space without sacrificing aesthetics or functionality. Whether you're a fitness novice or a seasoned pro, their collection caters to all levels. And here's the real game changer. As a special treat for our podcast listeners, we're offering an exclusive 10% off on your purchase. Simply use the code word NAVSEffect10 upon checkout at www.sunbeamslifestyle.com. It's our way of saying thank you for choosing Fitspire. But that's not all. For an even more seamless experience, download the Sunbeams Lifestyle app, available on both iOS and Android platforms. Browse their collection, stay updated on fitness trends and exclusive deals. Transform your fitness routine from ordinary to extraordinary with Fitspire. Don't just dream about your fitness goals, achieve them in the comfort of your own home. Visit www.sunbeamslifestyle.com, use code NAVSEffect10, and let Fitspire be your fitness companion on this incredible journey. Okay, we're now back with the leaders of the DLSU strength and conditioning staff. Okay, Migs, I'm gonna ask you this because he's always in your IG stories. We've seen the game day lifts, we've seen the post game lifts, we've seen the off season work, we've seen the dedication to turn himself from a really good player to arguably the best player of the UAAP. But share to us a story of Kevin Kimbao that perfectly encapsulates the dedication of this young stud when it comes to being the best version of himself. Share a story that you remember top of your head.
Top of my head, I guess when we went to Lasal, me and Jello, it took a while for KQ to train with us. I think the first 2 to 3 months he was training with someone else. Nung na-feel niya na napag-iiwanan na siya ng teammates siya in terms of strength and conditioning, that's when he wanted to like, Coach, sige na, lipat na ako sa inyo. And then sabi ko, sige, punta ka sa akin sa Activate in the morning. Kasi sabi niya he wanted to do his workouts with me, not in Lasal. And he wanted to do it elsewhere. Bro, pumupunta siya doon 6 a.m. Siya bumubukas ng ilaw, nag-shooting muna siya.
Wow.
Wala kasing tao doon sa gym sa Activate. There's no staff there at that early. So I don't know how, but he learned how to turn on the lights. And it was like, nasa dulo ng gym in the corner. So nagpa-flashlight pa yun, naghahanap ng kung saan ba tong mga switch na to. Grabe, nag-shooting siya. And for a whole 2 months, that was his routine. Shooting first in the morning, 6 a.m. I would get there 7:30, and then that's when we would start lifting. Then he'd go to school, and then he would go to practice. Grabe yung dedication niya. And then slowly, I was, again, planting seeds na you gotta work on your nutrition. So that's when he went to Tim, and then sobrang meticulous niya din with his diet. Everything actually, he has to check all the boxes of what it takes to be the best athlete. Kasi marami akong athletes in different sports. You could say that they're as hardworking as KQ. But iba pa rin yung when you're keeping all the other boxes checked also. Iba pa rin yung being meticulous in that regard. So he's a different beast. He's not just working hard, but he's also working smart.
those pre and post game lifts, generally speaking, of course, those who study
Mm-hmm.
the science of what you guys do know that, sometimes lifting during the game, after the game could actually help you pa. But some
Mm-hmm.
people might say, hindi mo papagod yan, too much work, ang dami niyang responsibilities on the court. But for KQ, why does it work so well that he can lift a few hours before the game, he'll lift a few hours after the game, and actually that makes him stronger pa?
Actually, it's not only Kevin. It's actually the whole team that lifts
Everyone.
before. Yeah, it's just
Okay.
Kevin and F that goes to me in the morning because they
Yeah.
want to see their numbers with the device I have, the
Yeah.
velocity based training device. They want to see their numbers there go up. But everyone else does their lift in their zone pregame, and if it is pregame or postgame. Yung pregame actually it's a really short workout. It's just a 15 to 20-minute workout. It's called PAP, post activation potentiation. It means that within a given time frame, if you work out with a certain time frame before the game, the next 6 to 9 hours or 15 to 18 hours after that workout, you'll be more explosive. So that's what we aim to do. Hindi siya talaga nakakapagod and it even
Yeah.
helps you. And when it comes to the post-game workout naman, kasi we have this principle na keep the hard days hard and the light days light. So we'd rather work out on after the games rather than the next day. Kasi the next day we're using that day to recover. If you work out the next day, then when are you gonna recover, diba? Games in the UAAP are so tight, so
Right.
close to each other.
Compressed.
So yeah, yeah.
And yung just to add to that with regards sa mga pre-game and post-game lifts. Actually, during the preseason, ini-implement na namin yun. So actually nakikita lang kasi nila is the pre and post-game lifts during the UAP season. But in our program, we've already instilled to them and tried it with them yung mga post and pre-game lifts, lalo na during the PhilOil season, PBA D-League. So basically, we've already built a big enough capacity for them to handle those types of stresses sa katawan nila na they're lifting pre-game, they're lifting post-game. Kahit magbuhat sila before or after, kaya na nung katawan nila. So basically, we've already built them up to a certain point where they can handle those things. And with regards naman sa, yun nga, sa post-game lifts, it's not taxing, it's not suka levels or ganun. But again, it varies pa rin from player to player. Yun nga, dyan na pumapasok yung individuality. Kasi there are players where they're not gonna be playing that as much. I mean, yun natin, there would be players who's not gonna get minutes. There would be players naman na would get a few minutes. But doon na papasok yung individuality just to cover up that intensity of that game. And dapat ang feeling nila is that parang naglaro na rin sila ng game na pag binunot sila randomly in a game ni Coach Topex, ready sila maglaro. And they've already, kumbaga, match na nila yung level na kayang gawin ng mga naglalaro. And when their number is called, they're ready.
Interesting. Now, these methods and the dynamics that both of you use, are they a product of years and years of studying? Did you guys take programs to learn about this? Did you study abroad, self-study? How did you guys get to this point?
It's a long process. Obviously, you start with a degree and then you get certifications, but our industry is very young. You know, the science changes every day, or there's new methods being applied, and there's always articles that you can read. And it's not just about reading; it's all about applying it as well, seeing the trends. Obviously, we have a lot of athletes, and you have to try and test them, see the trends that happen, and then just keep adjusting depending on what you see with what you're applying. Diba? You can't be like, this is what I read. I'm going to stick to this for the next 5 years. You always have to check the trends of how your team performs, of how your players feel, and make the necessary adjustments. And then if you're not happy, obviously, you always have to keep reading and keep learning.
So, Migs, most coaches after the games, they watch the film, they break down the plays, the
Mm-hmm.
X's and O's. They look, okay, Horn's play worked well for the offense. The defense switching worked better than, let's say, on drop coverage. So, for you guys as SNC coaches, is it more, I'm looking at how the legs of this player, are operating? How are they running? Are they
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
huffing and puffing? Do they have energy? Are they jumping higher than usual in this game compared to the last game? Are those the kind of specifics you look for?
Yep, definitely. And like I said, yung lifts namin, we have a device that measures the velocity. So we can see if a certain weight that they usually lift becomes slower or faster, then we'll know if they're fresh or not, diba? And at the same time, like towards the end of the season, we implemented the wearing of heart rate monitors for them during practices and games. That as well helped us, you know.
And another thing for me, another thing that I personally love doing is, I talk to them individually. I talk to players individually, asking for feedback. I mean, I know it's kind of subjective, but syempre malaking bagay din for us
True.
to hear anong concerns nila with regards to their bodies, how they feeling. And then ako usually, before and after practices, I usually come up to, lalo na yung may mga alam kong may big history of injuries, I always talk to them. I always, kinakamusta ko sila, oh, how's your knee, how's your ankle, masakit ba, ganyan, ganyan. Then the stuff, how's your body? Tapos minsan, tatanungin ko sila, oh, how's practice intensity? Oh, okay ba kayo? Pasok ba sa light to? Pasok ba sa hard to? And stuff like that. So, I guess for me, it's one factor na ginagawa rin namin naman ni Migs with regards to feedback to players.
The heart rate monitor, what's that? Like, is it in the uniform? Are they
It's
wristbands?
underneath the uniform. We actually,
Mm.
nagpaalam pa kami actually sa UAAP board if
Pwede
they could
gamitin.
wear it. Ginamit,
Mm.
we just used it na, yung message namin is like, this is gonna elevate the level of, science in the UAAP. And
Correct.
it
Which is
will
true.
be pioneers and
Yeah.
like hopefully it'll elevate the level of SNC in the
Yeah.
Philippines if teams start doing it too, diba?
Do you guys
Mm.
think LaSalle's the only team that monitors that right now?
When I used to work in Ateneo, I remember them buying heart rate monitors, just 5, but I don't know if they really used it. I don't
Mm,
think so.
interesting. Now, you guys are looking to repeat as UAP champions, obviously. Does that mean also increasing the level of fitness or different methodologies that you might use? Or is it a lot of, keeping the same patterns, not fixing what's not broken, essentially?
Actually, we were already on the second phase of our off-season SNC program, and we changed the program. But it's also because they already have a higher level of fitness right
Yeah.
now. So definitely, we already know their bodies. Kasi last year, nangangapa pa kami, we had to figure out what they responded to. Now that we do know what they responded to, like it's an easier task for us to
Mm.
implement certain programs. Now we just have to take care of the volume, and yun, ganun pa rin. It's a long off season, so we have a lot of time to experiment in a way. Experiment in a sense na these are already proven techniques. It's just a matter of is it gonna help these boys respond better than last year?
Yeah. Just to add, it's not like a trial and error na, oh, gumana to, okay. Oh, hindi to gumana. Hindi siya ganun. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
The methods that we've been implementing are also methods that other SNC
Athletes.
coaches, other athletes have been implementing or have been doing. And we've personally tried it. May mga,
Oh, yeah.
we personally tried it. So there are times where pag kaya ginawa namin or pinagawa namin sa ibang athletes, oh, maganda response nito. Oh, baka pwede natin gawin to kay certain athlete. Oh, ganun kami. It's not like, oh, ayoko to, X yan. Ito gusto ko to, sige, lagay natin. Hindi, it's not like that.
When it comes to muscle building, do you guys still use the traditional bulking and shredding phases as well?
They come in handy.
Yeah.
The same reason why bodybuilders do it. It's because
Yeah.
obviously in sport you want to get as lean as possible to move as fast as you can, but you also want a decent amount of muscle to be able to take hits and hit back as well. So it's a matter of where you're at and how we're gonna move forward from your current state. Because we only have 9 months in bodybuilding, the bulking and shredding. It takes time.
Yeah.
At the same time, they only lift. We have to play our sport as well. So
Yeah.
it's really hard to manage doing both of those
Yeah.
things.
Without revealing too much, because I know that you guys are working with them, but what can we expect from the new players of the team, such as the guy you mentioned earlier, Luis Pablo, Kian Baclaan, and of course Jacob Cortez? What can we expect new out of them after they go through your program? I know you guys can't reveal the specifics, but maybe a little preview of what you're working on with them.
Hopefully they come out of this current year turning into beasts. Kasi ang tagal talaga ng preparation namin with them.
Yeah.
All I need
Actually,
from them
yeah.
is commitment. Please, guys, if you're listening, those three guys,
Yeah.
just commit. And
Yeah.
obviously, they're not playing right now. So
Mhm.
sometimes, like si Kian, he'd rather do panalay or so. Diba? Like we're not gonna see them as much as the players who are actually gonna
Yeah.
play this year. So
Right.
just hopefully they commit
Yeah.
in all aspects, like KQ, the nutrition side, taking care of your recovery and the workouts.
For me, yeah, that's one. Na talagang they'd come out as the best athletes as possible. The best point guard, the best wing, the best basketball player that we could ever have. Para sulit naman yung recruitment. Grabe naman kasi yung recruitment. Para naman sulit, di ba? Di ba? Pero more than anything else, syempre, we still, kumbaga, kasi as coaches, I've always believed na kailangan na umabot yung players namin sa point where they're on their own. Kasi kami sa Lasal, like, yung mga holdovers namin, we're at the point where we just tell them what to do, alam na agad nila yung gagawin. So, yung mga new guys namin, we kinda hope that they learn something from those holdovers na na-implement namin sa kanila or na-impose namin sa kanila. Kasi grabe, parang because of what they've been doing, kumbaga, mas dumali yung trabaho namin. The way we implement things and the way they do things. Sometimes ako, hindi naman sa ano, pero every time I have a weight session with them or lalo na sa Razon, na kaya the few guys who comes in class, I wouldn't do much. Really. I wouldn't do much. Kasi everything's on their app. Magtatanong lang sila with ano bang pwedeng alternative and stuff like that. Yun dun sila nagtatanong. Pero other than that, it's just automatic to them. It's just really, ganun na lang. Ganun na lang sa kanila eh. So, it's
Especially
something
the
that
vets, bro.
gusto ko, yeah.
Yung vets, they're like,
Yung vets.
kasi sometimes they left within a certain percentage of their one rep max, diba? The vets are telling the young guys, oy, compete nyo na. Ito yung one rep max yun, diba? O, ito na yung next weight.
Yung mga ganun.
Boom, boom, boom.
Right,
Salpak
right.
sa bar. O, ito na yung
Yeah,
next weight.
ganun na sila. Ganun
So,
na sila.
yeah.
Like, autopilot na sila basically.
Sariling sikap na from there on out. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, let's
Which
do
is something that we're trying to help them because eventually these guys are gonna turn into pros, and they're
Yeah.
gonna keep these habits for the rest of their lives, diba?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a quick rapid fire. I'm gonna ask like random questions. You guys just answer top of your head, okay? And any of you can answer this. Okay, what's more essential to recovery, proper eating or the right amount of sleep?
Both.
Comes hand in hand, baby. Can't be
And
neither.
Both.
Yeah,
Both.
all right. Who from the Green Archers can squat the most? Wait.
It depends what type of
Earl,
squat.
Earl, bro.
But for me, it depends on what
Bro.
type of squat. Pero
Let's say traditional squat, the one that everyone does at the gym.
Feel ko si Earl pa rin,
Earl.
bro.
I think Earl.
Like how many pounds
Earl,
are we
bro.
talking about?
Bro,
with Earl?
Earl at 19 last year was box squatting 545. Bro, that's
Damn.
great. That's unheard of.
That's
I mean,
19 years old.
Unheard of in the Philippines, bro.
That's why he can. I mean, must be those. He's Aussie, right? Part Aussie.
Yeah.
No, he's full
Bro,
Filipino.
full
Actually,
Filipino.
He's full Filipino,
Wow.
bro.
He's full Filipino.
He says he's part Aussie.
But he's full Filipino. I've met his parents. They're full Filipino.
Yeah.
All right. And who can carry the most in a deadlift? Who has the highest one rep?
Earl. Earl.
Still
also.
Earl. Or
Still Earl.
Diba?
Hindi,
Actually,
nag-Earl tayo,
KQ
bro.
pala box squat, pre.
Like, Earl sa deadlift.
Diba?
KQ sa
Earl.
box squat.
Okay, if you had to pick one of the Green Archers to run a 42-kilometer marathon, who would have the most endurance to complete it?
Sino mo panalo last time? The last Green Archers or the current?
Your season 86 championship team.
KQ or F?
Yeah,
Sila
42.
lagi mataas sa 6-minute test sa endurance test namin.
Yeah.
Wow, like but like long range running, yung hindi mo papagod sila din.
Yeah.
Yeah.
KQ na.
Agree.
Biggest difference of training pros compared to college athletes?
College athletes are more willing to listen, and because they're still developing habits.
Pros have their own mind.
But
Not
you
taking
get
anything away from my pros. My Phoenix players,
same.
most of them listen.
Same.
But it took
keep
years,
those jobs,
bro.
guys.
It took years, bro. I swear to God, it took years
Yeah.
for them to finally listen.
How do you hold
Sure.
your patience? Like, let's say you know what the players are supposed to do, and they're just like not, always willing to follow everything.
Tanda ka na, bahala ka sa buhay mo.
Actually, there's this line that I use every time. Bahala ka sa buhay mo, karir mo naman yan.
Nagigil
Oh.
That's
trip
the
eh,
li-
no?
that's the line I use every time.
Oh.
That's the line I use every time, and it works 100% of the time.
I like it. I like it. Parang ano na yun eh. Parang ready ka na to be a parent also eh. No? Like to
Uh,
lecture your kid in the future. Parang
Dude,
ganun.
honestly, parang that's almost the same way that we got the players in the LSU to buy in. Because
yeah.
obviously there was a certain period that they were still stuck to their old, routines and habits. But the way the players started to buy into DLSU in the middle of the offseason last year was some players responded faster than the other players. And in Coach Topex's system, if you get left behind, you're gonna be benched, diba? Kasi we press so much, we run so much. If di ka makahabol, you're gonna be benched. So now, these guys who weren't really locked in or bought in with our program, they're like, Coach, what else could I do to get in shape? And now
Yeah.
you're coming to me?
Yeah.
Tama.
And
Tama.
to tell you a story, first month of our actually first week, because we have parang na-schedule namin yung isang weight session ng Saturday, and it's just weight session. I was there like, early in the morning, and I was kind of expecting everyone to be there because again, it's weight session, it's
Yeah,
training.
exactly.
Scheduled yan eh. Apat lang ang dumating.
Wow. Legit.
Apat lang ang dumating. So ako, syempre, nagalit ako doon sa iba. Parang, I'm wasting my Saturday morning. Tas apat lang ang pupunta dito. Nagalit na ako. Then, nagsabi na ako kila Coach Topex, and Coach Topex, being Coach Topex, gano'n naman siya. Like, alam nyo, bahala kayo sa buhay ninyo. I mean, malalaki na kayo. Yan, pag gumano na siya, simula na nang nagpupuntahan na silang lahat.
All right. My final question. What was the moment you can pinpoint from season 86 when you told yourselves, even if you just told yourselves, but didn't tell anyone else, we're gonna win the championship this year?
Bro, mine was when we were on a losing streak, 'di ba? Parang three or not losing
You
streak ba
guys
yun? 'Di ba
were
nung
3 and
first
We
3.
round?
lost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
after the loss to
yeah,
UP,
first round.
correct.
And then guys started to ask coach mag extra tempo runs ako. That's like a cardio protocol that you make them do if they don't get to play as
Mm.
much. Almost the
Mm.
whole team is doing it. And sometimes after practice, they don't even ask us anymore. They just do it. I'm
Mm.
like, grabe, tinan mo to mga to. Sobrang dedicated.
Yeah,
Champion
yeah.
tayo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually that's one instance na I could really say na wala. From what we saw, that they again, yung parang autopilot na sila. Wala na makakatalo sa amin. Sweep na namin ang second round. Champion na to.
So
Ganun eh.
so even after the first game loss to UP in the finals, the confidence was still very high.
Ako, personally, I was pretty confident. I was like really confident. We were still confident. Pero syempre,
May
papasok pa rin sa
caution din. May
utak mo.
konting
May
caution.
caution.
Yeah.
May caution ka. Kasi 30
But
points
I
Tinimbang
could
ka ng
say
30.
that maybe me and Gelo were probably the most confident guys, especially during our losing streak. Because as like I said, strength and conditioning coaches, our job is to dictate practice intensity and duration in a way that will help the team peak for certain times of the season.
Yeah.
And our goal was for them to peak towards the end. So if we were losing at a certain point, a peak always comes from a performance dip. You can't have a peak from a dip. So that was our dip. And from then
Yeah.
on, it was like,
Dire-diretso na.
me and Jello were always telling each other na parang, Jello, relax lang tayo. Ganito lang yan. Pero tinan mo.
I always tell the players nun, always trust that dip. Always trust that dip. Kasi yung dip na yan, ang next gen pataas lang eh. Hindi ka na bababa kung nasa baba ka na.
Ang sasabihin mo, Jello, nowhere to go but up from the dip.
Wala ako sinabi Wala ako sinabi. I just said trust the dip.
Nah, I got you.
Yeah.
Gelo Vito and Migs Aytona of Aytona Performance, strength and conditioning team of De La Salle University. If there was anything close to heat culture in the UAP basketball scene, it would be these two guys. Migs, Gelo, thanks so much for joining me. Thank you so much
bro. Thank you for having us.
listeners. And just an incredible job with DLSU again last season.
Thank you.
Really rallying that community that was so hungry for a championship. I don't know. It's so funny, NU broke a 60-year championship drought. UP broke a 36-year championship drought. Other schools haven't won in, I mean, who knows how long. And
Yeah.
LaSalle, 7 years, it almost felt like an eternity, which just
Yeah.
goes to show how important the Green Archers are to De La Salle University and how impactful what all of you did to make the championship happen. More power to both of you, and thank you for joining me on this
Thank you.
Thank
thing.
you, bro.
Thanks, Naveen.